Hello, everybody. It's Justin, or Jurston, depending on where you're from, as usual. Playing God Eater Resurrection again, as usual. And the Lord is saying this time for me to say something. And sometimes I'm at a loss for that because I have a lot of things to say and they kind of get in my mind all at once. But here goes nothing. I have a hard time. I guess, understanding and putting into practical steps a future for myself and my wife and ourselves. And sometimes that can be the hardest thing because it's like living in a vacuum almost. And I don't know. I'm just going on about how I personally feel right now. I'm excited about some new opportunities that have come up and everything, and at the same time, I get frustrated that I am where I'm at my age, and I'm at in terms of my walk with God, and I'm at with just a lot of things. I feel extraordinarily behind in most things that I do, and that is exceedingly frustrating, and I'm trying not to be frustrated by that, but, you know, I wish that I had yielded to people, my elders, and people like that sooner, so, because I think that what's happened with me, and this is why I don't want you guys to fall into, is this idea that, hey, because I pray and I can hear from God and things like that, like I do with this show every day, that I somehow don't, the ideas of man are not that big of a deal. And the thing is that God won't give you a full revelation of something. I've mentioned this before in one of the show, other episodes, but I want to re-emphasize it. This was a really big deal for me. It was a huge deal for me because it directed me towards a lot of isolation in terms of just the idea of it. This idea that I can just kind of do it alone with God because God has the best ideas and the best everything else. So all I need to do is pray, hear from Him, and then go ahead and apply the things. Which sounds good on paper, but at the same time, what ended up happening was that I didn't receive and hear a lot of the revelation that God had for me because it didn't come through a person. And so it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, or that even the way that God was saying that it was going to go, and sometimes because I didn't receive the full revelation from a person. In some ways, I just denied it myself because I was being stubborn about not listening to Him, not listening to other people, not listening to a whole bunch of stuff. So my biggest flaw has been isolating, and it sucks to have lost as much time as I've lost simply because I had this idea in my head. Because what happens is that in isolation like that, when you think that, okay, God's going to communicate with you about the best idea and the best plan and everything, and that's true to a certain extent, but because He said it's not good for man to be alone, that means that He's going to give you a portion of it, and He's going to give man or the people around you the other portion of it. And you're all going to come together and interact with each other because everybody has a portion of God's revelation. So even you, whoever you are listening, have a portion of God's revelation. And that makes you very, very, very important. That makes you vitally important. You always have precious cargo on you. And that's just the bottom line with that. You are important, you are relevant, you are worth sticking around, you're worth sticking this out, you are worth those things because someone out there is needing the portion in that what God's wanting to reveal that person. And that's why it's so important to fellowship with your brothers and sisters in Christ, and fellowship and guide people and things like that. It's so important just to be around people. And that's something that I had not understood because my feelings were that, okay, well, I already told you about my feelings about, the ideas things in terms of business stuff. But my other feelings were that, okay, if I'm not doing business stuff, then aren't I wasting time if I'm just hanging out or whatever? I never could really wrap my head around that until I understood that, in a social setting like that, that I am very important just to be around other people, and other people are very important to be around me. And there may not even be a portion that is revealed that day, or may not be a portion around where you're sitting there with anybody that something may not be revealed to you at all, but even your presence being there can reveal something. So it's just good to fellowship and be around people, and I wish that I had seen that sooner and understood that sooner. But I'm not going to dwell on it, because the Lord can restore even the years. So through obedience and faith, and He can supersede a lot of things in terms of the pathways, and kind of fold dimension on top of itself if you're just listening to Him, because those opportunities can be restored just simply through obedience. Because it could be something to where it's like, hey, if you make a beeline right here, bam, you'll be right there, no time wasted, So I just have been very, very frustrated about that, and sometimes I still get frustrated about that, and I don't like it. And I'm coming out of it now. Slowly but surely. I'm not anywhere near where I need to be, and I just got to take it one step at a time, because if I just, there's this idea where you just gotta throw yourself into it, that's all gonna work out, and that's not true. It's kind of like biting off more than you can chew. So just start with the portion that you need. If you're eating food, then, and you don't know what food it is, let's say that somebody puts, for example, lamb in front of you for the very first time. Not a whole lot of people have lamb, but you have lamb in front of you for the first time. It's like, okay, I don't know what this tastes like. So what you do is that you don't just sit there and take a huge bite out of the lamb. You actually, take off a little slither of it, and you taste it and kind of nibble on that for a little while, and it's like, okay, I think I know what this tastes like. And then after that, you go ahead and go in bigger portion, and then when you figure out that you like it, or that this is working for you, the taste of this lamb is working for you, and then after that, you go ahead and dive into it. So it's the same thing that we should do in terms of jumping into something and practicing those things that we are either nervous about or fearful about or whatever. Just a smaller portion will do you, versus trying to overwhelm your senses, overwhelm your brain, and be like, oh my gosh, I have to jump right into this thing that's going to be impossible. No. You don't need to jump from 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds. so ration that out and everything, and you'll be fine. So I have to tell myself the same thing too, because the position that I'm in right now is that it's going to force me to talk to more people and hang out with more people and things like that. And in some ways it's exciting, in other ways it's kind of like, oh my gosh. So I'm trying to get used to that and acclimated to asking for help and trying to get people on board to do this and do that and everything, because I'm so used to doing everything by myself, and it's just really, really tough. It's really tough. Sometimes I'm like, well, if I ask for help here, then how much money is it going to cost me? That's another thing I'm like, that God works with me about, is about investing versus spending. And I'm not spending money, I'm investing, and I'm investing in people, I'm investing with people and everything, and just all these little mini concepts that are new to me, and I just had to untangle this huge web, and it's just tough. It's really, really tough, because my instinct is to just be like, okay, I get this alone, and I don't. I totally don't. So, I don't know. I don't want you guys or anyone listening to make the mistake that I've made, which is to think that it's okay to just isolate and do everything by yourself because of people letting you down. And that's one of the biggest things that really messed me up, I think, is just the idea of people letting me down. Like, I've gotten so many times people who want to help. They genuinely do want to help, but because they're not organized or whatever the reasons may be, or they again bite off more than they can chew. They want to help you out, but they just don't know how to. You know, you get this disappointment where it's kind of like, oh man, well, this person says they're going to help me. You get excited about it, and then you don't hear from them again. And I've done the same thing, and that's a lot of times when I did that, is because I, in my heart, wanted to say yes, but just didn't know how to say no. Or in my heart, I wanted it to work out well, but I just didn't know how to organize myself to make time for this other person and their project and what it is that they wanted to do. So understanding that, I get that, so I'm not mad at anybody. However, what it taught me was that, okay, well, the main person I can depend on the most is going to be me. So, you know, I would go ahead and learn how to do something by myself, so I wouldn't have to wait on other people or go through the work of finding this person and finding that person and begging this person to do this and begging that person to do that and everything. And I was just kind of like, I'm just not into that. I'm just like, let me just go ahead and do it my doggone self, because I know that, you know, I'll do it because I'm passionate about it. I'm excited about what I'm doing on my project or whatever it is, and that works out for a while. But again, you get into this void and it's just not good. And then you begin to kind of work on things just to work on things, and you're like, well, if I stay busy, then I won't notice that I'm actually really lonely. And you can use your work in your projects and to build mountains. So like, you usually overcome some mountains, then there's actually building a mountain to overcome, and that can be pretty sick. You know, that can be pretty sick. And I'm at this place right now where I don't want to do that, but I'm so used to it that I end up sometimes hurting people around me, where, you know, they think that I'm doing these things on purpose, where, you know, I might go for a project or whatever it is, and they think that, you know, oh, well, you did it on purpose. You didn't ask me about this, you didn't ask me about that. And I was kind of like, no, like, I just forgot. I didn't think about it, you know. And then sometimes, you know, it is more intentional, because I'm kind of like, well, instead of going back and forth and figuring this out and everything, you know, let me just do it myself real quick, because I want to get it done, and I'm tired, and I don't feel like, you know, the back and forth in terms of collaboration and everything, and so then you become kind of stubborn, and then kind of lazy about some things, you know, because collaboration is a slower process. You know, it's a slower process. It's a better process, but it is a slower process. So then sometimes, you know, people like me, you're thinking fast, you're trying to act fast and everything, you know, and then it just seems to take so long, and it's not taking that long, and you just get frustrated just by even thinking about it, and after that you don't want to do it anymore. And then, you know, it's a different thought process to involve more people in your life, and yeah, it can be scary, and yeah, it can be frustrating. For me, it's more frustrating more than anything else. I'm always in a perpetual state of frustration. Like, why can't this happen sooner? And why isn't this happening soon? And why isn't that happening? Blah, 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 you know? And why isn't the person doing this? And, you know, so it can be that way, but at the end of the day, I've done some of my best recent work by collaboration. In terms of my logos and some of the ideas we come up with together. And this is me and Stan Faryna. You can take a look at his book on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below for that, because it's good. It's a fiction book. It's a Christian fiction book that is very unconventional and actually has violence in it. But not for the sake of having violence in it, just for the sake of having violence in it, because he wants to be like, you know, be shocking or whatever, you know, but it's used specifically as a plot device, and that's what I appreciate. If you're gonna put violence in it, then make it be an actual plot device and something that is actually relevant to the story. So, but anyway, so so some of my best work has been, you know, with Stan, and there are plenty of times where I'm kind of like, well, I should do this, or I should give them a call or things like that, you know, and sometimes kind of like, huh. But I'm tired. Or I don't know, it's like me just thinking about collaborating with other people just can be very, very just tiring just even thinking about it sometimes. So it's really tough. I just don't recommend anyone get involved in isolating at all. It's not good for man to be alone. So now I gotta crawl myself out of this hole, and it's really, really tough. So just get into the practice of not being alone, talking to people, and also collaborating with certain projects and things like that, you know. So I just don't have but I can only say this in theory. I don't have a clear-cut way for this. I am really battling my way out of that, and I guess I just wanted to share this with you guys about what I'm personally going through, since God's just kind of giving me the floor to speak. But, you know, just remember that it's not good for man to be alone. I think it's incredible that the only thing that you need to do to drive a man insane is, and I say man, it's in mankind. Man, it's in mankind. But I think it's incredible. Well, the only thing that you need to do to drive a man insane is to just leave him alone in the hole, like in prison. Put someone in the hole, no human contact for a long time or where that time period is, and they just kind of lose their mind. That's the only thing that you need to do. That's how not good it is for man to be alone. You know, it actually causes, you know, sickness in the mind. So, and the thing is that I don't know what kind of damage that has actually done. And I'm not gonna find out until, you know, I confront those things. And I think the main thing that I'm understanding is the ideas that I have, and the mental, I guess, stretching of understanding and getting around people and understanding, you know, it's like, okay, before it was a lot easier where you can just kind of, you know, be at the crib and just create, you know, in this hole, basically. You know, you know what you're doing, not to worry about any type of, you know, I guess, monkey in the wrench in the monkey, or the monkey in the wrench, or whatever that is. Whatever that good thing that is. You don't have to really worry about, you know, a whole lot of unknowns, you know, but when you work with people, there can be some unknown unknowns, and it's not even a bad thing. It's just a dumb way of thinking that I'm thinking right now, and I'm frustrated that I think that way about things. But I don't know, like, so it could be just something as minor as setting up the meeting itself is just taxing to me in my head, or actually going out to visit people is taxing in my head, because I'm kind of like, you know, well, what do I do when I get there, or what are we going to talk about? I don't know what to talk about. The only thing I know what to talk about is usually God and business. Which is kind of sad within itself, right? Like, you just can't kind of sit around and be together, and it's hard. It's really, really hard, and it's really frustrating. And just pray for me, truly. Yeah, truly, just pray for me, because there's just new ideas that I'm just not understanding completely. But I do understand that I can't continue in the way that I've been going, and that's why I'm really trying, and that's why God has provided me with a way out of that. You know, it's just I have to take that opportunity much more seriously than I am, and begin to kind of roll the punches and get out there in the field and work here and work there and everything, and go from there. So yeah, it's just the idea of it just freaks me out, and I say freaks out as in it overwhelms me. So the thought of hanging out overwhelms me, or collaborating overwhelms me, and all those type of things. It overwhelms me pretty easily. So I don't know. This time I'm gonna ask for suggestions, maybe in the comments below. Cause I don't know, man. I really don't know. Man or woman, I don't know. No. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of here now. That's just something that I wanted that had on my mind, and just wanted to share, and that's all that I really got this time around. So if you want to support me in my endeavors. There's going to be links in the description below. I want you guys to take care of yourselves. I want you to esteem each other better than yourselves. So I will say this is that, and speak life to myself, that I won't get over this, and that all of the things and the stuff that I've lost in terms of isolating everything, they will be restored to me in the name of Jesus. And that if that is an issue, or you're having an issue, just know that that God can and will restore, and that you need to not change your confession with that. So just keep on confessing that these things will come to pass and you'll be fine. So alright guys, that's my time. Loves and hugs, and baby! Thank you once again to my Patreon supporters. It means so much to me. Just look at them. Just look at these people. Just look at it.